Slovakia, the land of castles, is a country rest in the heart of Central Europe. Bratislava Castle. Main castle of Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. Smolenica Castle. Orava Castle. Trenčín Castle, also referred to as Trenčínský hrad.
Bojnica Castle.
Spiš Castle. Bekov Castle.
Stará Ľubovňa Castle.
Kremnica Castle. It's a cluster of buildings from the 14th to 15th centuries. Lietava Castle. Extensive castle ruin in the Sulov Mountains of northern Slovakia.
Hali Castle.
Also known today as Galicia Nueva Castle Hotel, a luxurious 4-star hotel.
Slovenská Ľubča Castle.
Strekno Castle. Devon Castle. Krasna Horka Castle. This is a 14th century Gothic castle located in the village of Krasnohorsk Podrudy in Slovakia. Kashtas Castle. Castle ruin. Modri Kamen Castle. This is a Gothic Renaissance castle located in the village of Modri Kamen. Nitra Castle. The core of the castle is the Cathedral of St. Emmeram, with the adjacent Bishop's Palace.
Zwolle Castle.
Orovec Castle. Did you know there are more than 30,000 castles and ruins left in Ireland today, most dating from the 12th to 16th centuries? Raphoe Castle, also known as the Bishop's Palace, is a ruined early 17th century castle on the edge of Raphoe, County Donegal. Mallow Castle, located in Mallow. Parks Castle, located on the shores of Loch Gill in County Leitrim. Dungair Castle, the 16th century tower house on the southeastern shore of Galway Bay in County Galway. Desmond Castle, also known as Adare Castle. Doe Castle, picturesque castle located near Creeslaw in County Donegal. Argillan Castle, elegant 18th century country house located in Balbriggan, County Dublin. Classybon Castle, country house built for the 3rd Viscount Palmerston on the Mullimore Peninsula near the village of Cliffany, County Sligo. Castle was built in the mid-19th century. Dromore Castle, the dramatically cited ruin of a mid-19th century in the Gothic Revival style. Belleek Castle, a picturesque castle located near the town of Ballina in County Mayo. This is a magnificent medieval fortress located in County Clare. The castle's origins date back to the 15th century. Blarney Castle, a medieval stronghold in Blarney, near Cork. The current keep was built by the McCarthy of Muskerry dynasty, a cadet branch of the Kings of Desmond, and dates from 1446. Blackrock Castle, located on the banks of the River Lee in Blackrock, Cork. Castle Leslie, located in Glaslaw, County Monaghan. The origins of Castle Leslie date back to the 17th century, when it was built by the Leslie family. Malahide Castle, located in the coastal town of Malahide, just north of Dublin. Kylemore Castle, built in 1868 as a private home for the family of Mitchell Henry, a wealthy doctor from London whose family was involved in textile manufacturing in Manchester, England. Charleville Castle, Gothic-style castle located near Tullamore in County Offaly. Ross Castle, 15th century tower house and keep on the edge of Loch Lean in Killarney National Park, County Kerry. Kilkenny Castle, an iconic landmark in Ireland, located in the city of Kilkenny, County Kilkenny. It is one of the most visited heritage sites in Ireland. Dublin Castle, located in the heart of Dublin. It stands as a symbol of Ireland's rich heritage and has played a central role in the country's history for over 800 years. Trim Castle, a mighty Anglo-Norman castle in Ireland, considered the largest and most well-preserved of the late 12th and early 13th centuries. Kerr Castle, located in County Tipperary. Rock of Cashel, also known as St. Patrick's Rock, located in County Tipperary. From Versailles to Chambord, France is home to some of the most stunning and fascinating castles in the world, each with its own unique story. From towering medieval fortresses to grand royal palaces, these castles are like windows into the past, where battles were fought, kings and queens ruled, and legends were born.
Mont Saint-Michel,
Tidal Island and commune off the coast of Normandy. Château de Vaux-le-Vicomte. The magnificence of this castle aroused the jealousy of King Louis XIV. This led him to accuse the owner, Fouquet, of financial misconduct. Fouquet was subsequently arrested and imprisoned in the Bastille. The chateau was then seized and plundered by the king. Château de Versailles, located about 20 kilometers southwest of Paris, was originally a modest hunting lodge before King Louis XIV transformed it in. Construction began in 1661. Château de Fontainebleau, from the 12th to the 19th century, located 55 kilometers southeast of Paris, originally built in the 12th century as a royal hunting lodge and gradually expanded. Château de Chantilly, home to one of the largest collections of historical paintings in France. Château de Chambord. What could be more majestic than the Château de Chambord, with its 440 rooms and distinctive French Renaissance architecture? Carcassonne Castle, one of the largest and most well-preserved medieval fortresses in Europe. Located in southern France, Annecy Castle once served as a residence for the Counts of Geneva. Château de Haute-Königsbourg, located in the Vosges Mountains of northeastern France, was originally built in the 12th century by the Counts of Hohenstaufen to control the strategic trade routes in the region. Château de Baynac, one of the best-preserved castles in the Dordogne region, and its strategic location provided control over the river and surrounding lands. Built in the 12th century, Duingt Castle, also known as Château de Châteauvieux, this is one of the most picturesque castles in the French Alps, located on the shores of Lake Annecy. Château de Robert le Diable, located on a hill near the town of Molyneux in Normandy. This castle is said to have been built in the 11th century by Robert I. Château d'Agé, located in the city of Angers in the Loire Valley, this 9th century fortress was expanded by the Plantagenet dynasty and transformed into a royal fortress by King Louis IX in the 13th century. Château de Dayuc d'Alençon. This was once home to one of France's most influential noble families. Located in the town of Alençon, in Normandy. Fougères Castle. This is one of the and best-preserved largest medieval fortresses in Europe. Located in Brittany, northwestern France, was built in the 11th century by the House of Amboise. The Netherlands, a country renowned for its picturesque landscapes, rich history and cultural heritage, is home to an array of stunning castles that offer a glimpse into its medieval and Renaissance past. From the fairy tale elegance of De Haar Castle to the historical significance of Muiterslot and the serene beauty, these castles reflect the country's strategic importance in European history and its enduring charm. Castle Slangenberg, in the Gelderland province of the Netherlands, extensive surrounding forests, part of a nature reserve. Constructed in the late 17th century, the castle served as a noble residence and showcases a blend of Renaissance and Baroque styles.
De Haar Castle,
close to Utrecht in the Netherlands, Loevestein Castle, between 1357 and 1368 at the confluence of the Maas and Waal rivers, served as a fortress to control river trade routes. Muiterslot Castle, Slot Zullen Castle, Zeist Castle, also known as Slot Zeist,
Kassel Duivenvoorde,
near The Hague in the Netherlands.
Kassel Nienoord in Groningen.
Schaffelaar Castle, Ameringen Castle,
Schonauwen Kassel,
Castle Wedi. Located in the village of Wedi in the Groningen province, Valkenburg Castle, the only hilltop castle ever built in the Netherlands. Castle of Landgoed Staverden, with the first building being a hunting lodge constructed around 1290 by Reinold, Count of Gelderland.
Groevenbeek Kassel.
Slovenia, a land that defies its size, a place so small you could cross its entirety in 3 hours. The world more extraordinary than you could ever imagine. Lake Bled. At its center, Bled Island rises. The Church of the Assumption graces this island. From the island's edge, all eyes are drawn to Bled Castle. Piran. Beneath its charming exterior lies the secret that once made Piran the envy of empires. This small town began as a humble fishing village, transformed by its seafaring past and the valuable resource that shaped its destiny: salt. This white gold molded Piran's history. The story of Jerusalem traces back to the 12th century, when crusaders journeying eastward stumbled upon this enchanting land. They named it after the holy city of Jerusalem, believing it blessed with divine grace. Generations of winemakers have since thrived in these hills. Near Kranjska Gora, Lake Jasna is a serene alpine masterpiece within Triglav National Park. Ljubljana. In the myths of Ljubljana, a dragon once terrorized the land until a brave knight defeated it. High above, Ljubljana Castle crowns the cityscape. For over 900 years, Kamnik Savinja Alps. Celje Castle. Spanning the emerald waters of the Socha River, a stone arch rises with breathtaking grace. The Solken Bridge, the longest stone arch of any railway bridge in the world. Further upstream lies Most na Sochi, where the Socha slows to form a serene reservoir. Grad Otocets Castle. Slovenia's karst region stands Predjama Castle, making it a stronghold through centuries of conflict. Beneath the castle lies the Postojna cave system. Izola. The Julian Alps. Maribor. One of the most defining features of the skyline is the Maribor Cathedral. At the heart of the city lies the main square, Glavni Trg.
Croatia, Europe's favorite vacation spot, isn't just about sparkling beaches and dramatic coastlines. Beyond lies a rich history, waiting to be explored through its many castles that whisper tales of noble families, epic battles, and architectural marvels. Petropavlovsk Castle. Starograd Fortress, also known as Omis Fortica or Omis Castle. Fort St. Michael Castle. Camerlengo Castle, located in Troger. Built by the Venetians between 1420 and 1437, Trsat Fortress, the historic fortress located in Trsat. Medvedgrad, also referred to as Medvedgrad Fortress. Klis Fortress, also known as Tvrdava Klis. Nij Castle, overlooking the town and the Adriatic Sea.
Sokol Grad.
Ozilj Castle, first mentioned in 1244, shared castle of the prominent Croatian noble families Frankopan and Zrinski. Trkoskan Castle, dating back to the 13th century.
While the exact number of castles in England is a matter for debate, there's little doubt that there are a lot of them. While some estimates place the total inventory of existing English castles as high as 1,500, either in ruins or largely intact, still others quote figures many times this number. Rochester Castle, Kent. Now largely ruins, 12th century Arundel Castle, West Sussex. Arundel Castle was built in the late 11th century. Bodiam Castle, East Sussex. 14th century Bodiam Castle interior is partly in ruin. Alnwick Castle, Northumberland. The official seat of the Duke of Northumberland and the country's second largest still inhabited castle, Leeds Castle, Broomfield, Kent. Highclere Castle, Newbury, Hampshire. Warwick Castle, Warwickshire. Tower of London, City of London. A palace, a prison, the nation's treasury, Dover Castle, Kent. Windsor Castle, Berkshire.
Sweden, the land of the midnight sun, is a Scandinavian nation known for its thousands of coastal islands. Kalmar Castle, 800 years, on Sweden's southeastern coast. Orebro Castle, late 13th century. Laco Castle. Borgholm Castle. Once a grand royal palace, Borgholm Castle is now one of Sweden's most breathtaking ruins. Malmo Castle. Landskrona Fortress. Gripsholm Castle. Sweden's National Portrait Gallery. Karlsten Fortress. Castellet, Stockholm. Defensive stronghold for the capital. Schuleholm Castle. Was constructed between 1898 and 1904 by the wealthy merchant James Frederick Dixon and later completed by his wife. Circes Castle, in the heart of the Gauja National Park, founded in the early 13th century by the Livonian Brothers of the Sword, crucial stronghold for the Livonian Order, the residence of the Order's master. Bauska Castle was founded in 1443 by the Livonian Order as a strategic stronghold to defend against invasions from the south. The Reda Castle, built in 1214 by the Livonian Order. Riga Castle, the official residence of Latvia's presidents since 1922, was originally built in 1330 by the Livonian Order as a strategic stronghold to consolidate their power in the region. Sesvine Palace. Built in 1896 by the influential von Wolf family. Rundala Palace. Often referred to as the Versailles of the Baltics. Lillestraupa Castle. Built in the 13th century by the von Rosen family. Sigulda New Castle, in the Gauja River Valley. It was built in the early 19th century in a neo-Gothic style. Castle of the Livonian Order in Sigulda. Idole Castle. Koknese Castle. Birinu Palace. Adzina Castle. Ludza Medieval Castle Ruins. Was built in 1399 by the Livonian Order on a hill between two lakes.
Zarvets Fortress in the city of Veliko Tarnovo. Helvek Fortress next to Provadia. Baba Vita Fortress in the city of Vidin. Kaliakro Fortress in the Black Sea, next to Bulgarovo village. Ozan's Fortress near Asenograd. Shumen's Fortress. Mazik Fortress near Svilengrad. Castromatis Tower in Vidin.
Castles, fortresses, and palaces of Portugal. So sit back and grab your preferred beverage as we dive right into the video. Pena Palace. Built in the 19th century to fulfill the desire of Ferdinand Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, Queen Maria II's husband, Castle of Santa Maria di Feira, and is situated between the lovely towns of Aveiro and Porto. The medieval festival known as Feira in Portuguese used to be held at the castle's base, from where the word feira originates. A few years ago, the fair's long-standing tradition was revived. Almorol Castle. Castello di Almorol, location on a tiny stony island near the Tagus River. The epitome of grace of ancient Portugal, Castle of Montemor o Velho. Dates back to when Portugal wasn't even defined as a country. Battlefield between Christians and Muslims seeking to dominate Portugal. Governor's Castle. Lagos, one of the places in Portugal with its highest rise in tourism, is where you can find this historical castle. Castle of Tomar. One of the most important architectural achievements of the continent is the Convento de Cristo in Tomar. The castle was created when King Alfonso Henriques gave the Knights Templar Serras Castle in 1159. And Guimarães Castle. King Alfonso won the Battle of São Mamede, leading to Portugal's independence about 1,000 years ago. Marvão Castle. Many majestic castles can be found throughout Portugal's Alentejo area, but only a few match Marvão's solitary beauty. Silves Castle. Silves and its historic castle is Moorish architecture. Castle of Abidos. Situated near the lovely village of Abidos, which is ideal for sightseeing, while admiring the views of the castle. Castle de São Jorge. When you are in Lisbon, the country's capital, it is difficult to miss this castle. The castle perched on a hill and has defenses that date back more than 2,000 years. Castle of Bragança. 12th century and was augmented by monarchs Jew I and Afonso V in the early 15th century. Arraialos Castle. A charming tiny town in Alentejo region, Arraialos is home to the castle Paco dos Alcaides, Leiria Castle. The castle of Leiria, set at the heights of Leiria, a picturesque city. Castle of Abrantes played a crucial role in Portugal's liberation from the Moors. Alcotim Castle. Alcotim Castle was constructed in the 14th century to take the place of a deserted Moorish fortress further north along the river. The Castle of the Moors. Before Alfonso Henriques, the first emperor of Portugal, took control of it in 1147, the fortress was a vital Moorish stronghold. Castle of Penedono has existed here since the 10th century. Castle of Mertola. Mertola, tucked away in the deep southern borders of Alentejo. In 1031, the settlement declared its independence from the Caliphate of Cordoba. Castle of Monsaraz. Part of the walled medieval town of Monsaraz in the Alentejo, constructed in the 13th century on the orders of Kings Alfonso III and King Dinis as part of the network of border defenses to fend off the Spanish invasion. Sabugal Castle. After the conquest, the fortress was built in the eastern region of Portugal. It was strategically significant because it was close to the Spanish border, but was abandoned and demolished quickly. Belver Castle. The first and most significant castle built by the Knights Hospitallers in Portugal during the Middle Ages, Castle of Ivor-Ramonte. Following the Christian conquest of the entire Iberian Peninsula, the Castle of Ivor-Ramonte was used to defend the state border of Portugal. Castle of Viana do Alentejo. It is acknowledged that there wasn't any castle or surrounding building in the town of Alentejo till 1470. In 1478, D. Alfonso V wrote a letter to the municipal council of Viana concerning the possession of the mayor's office, request to build a fortification in said town for its protection. Porto de Mos Castle. Many ruling parties have occupied the castle over time. Walls are frequently repaired. Beja Castle. The Roman Empire and the Lusitanians reached a 49-year peace at this site. Castle of Rodrigo. One of the oldest in Portugal, homes enclosed within its walls. Palmela Castle. Under the direction of Roman builders, the first defenses were constructed in the area in the 4th century BC. Palmera has been well preserved to this day because of its advantageous location close to Lisbon. Castle of Alcácer do Sal. During the Muslim invasion of Portugal in the 8th century, a small village was established and defended on the Sadu River. In the later 12th century, the castle Alcácer do Sal was constructed here. Castle of Orem. In the 1300s, a Moorish fortress was demolished to make way for this castle.
Austria, the birthplace of Mozart, is filled with historic grandeur. Located in the picturesque landscapes of Central Europe, this land is adorned with formidable fortresses, towering stone walls, epic towers, and grandiose castles. Haute-Kassel, Ackstein Castle, Hartheim Castle, Greifswald Castle, dating back to the 12th century, Forchtenstein Castle, 15th century, built as a fortress to protect against Turkish invasions and served as the stronghold of the Esterhazy family. Hohe-Hosterwitz Castle, situated in the state of Carinthia in southern Austria, dating back to the 9th century. Kreutzenstein Castle, the 12th century, but the castle as it stands today is a 19th century reconstruction. Hohenwerfen Castle, Hohensalzburg Fortress. This is one of the largest and best preserved medieval fortresses in Europe. Hofburg Palace, in Vienna, with a rich history spanning over several centuries. Belvedere Palace, Schönbrunn Palace, Germany, a nation filled with tales of knights, emperors, and grandeur. Their legacy is beautifully preserved in the numerous castles scattered throughout the country, each offering a unique glimpse into a bygone era. Pfalzgrafenstein Castle, Marksburg Castle, Hambach Castle, Vischering Castle, Albrechtsberg Castle, that dates back to the 15th century. Zwinger Palace, the Baroque palace complex located in the heart of Dresden. Liechtenstein Castle, between 1840 and 1842 by Duke Wilhelm of Urach. Sigmaringen Castle, in the Swabian Alb region overlooking the Danube River, dates back to the 11th century. Rheinstein Castle, Wartburg Castle, a medieval castle situated on a hill above the town of Eisenach in Thuringia. Berghausen Castle, dating back to the 11th century. Braunfels Castle, dating back to the 13th century. Charlottenburg Palace, Moritzburg Castle, Lowenborg Castle, in the early 19th century. Marienburg Castle, in the mid-19th century as a birthday gift from King George V of Hanover to his wife, Queen Marie. Cochem Castle, Wenigerode Castle. The original castle was constructed in the 12th century, and over the centuries it underwent expansions, renovations, and modification. Hohenschwangau Castle, Eltz Castle, Sanssouci Palace, Heidelberg Castle, early 13th century. Schwerin Castle, Hohenzollern Castle, in the Swabian Alps of Baden-Württemberg. Neuschwanstein Castle was built in the 19th century.
Крепость Копорье, памятник русского средневекового оборонительного зодчества, находится на юго-западе Ленинградской области. Крепость расположена в 12 километрах к югу от Финского залива. Древняя русская крепость на Ореховом острове, истоки реки Невы, напротив города Шлиссельбург в Ленинградской области. Основана в 1323 году. В начале 18 века крепость стала использоваться как политическая тюрьма. Генуэзская крепость в городе Судак, Крым, построена генуэзцами как опорный пункт для своей колонии в Северном Причерноморье. Смоленская крепость – оборонное сооружение, выстроенное в 1602 году, в годы правления царей Федора Иоановича и Бориса Годунова. Протяженность стен более 6 километров, но сохранилась меньше половины. Зарайский Кремль был построен в 1531 году по приказу Василия III в небольшом селении Новогородок на Осетре. Уже в 1533 году Кремль подвергся первому нападению татар. В 1541 году Кремль был осажден ханом Крыма. Порховская крепость расположена в центре города Порхов, Псковской области. Крепостные строения из темного известняка сохранились практически полностью, но в несколько разрушенном состоянии. Первое упоминание о Порховской крепости в новгородской летописи относится к 1239 году. Староладожская крепость. Первый вариант крепости был построен во времена Вещего Олега на рубеже IX-X веков. В настоящее время крепость открыта для посещения. В ходе реконструкции в 15 веке стены крепости были укреплены валунами и облицованы плитами. Савино-Сторожинский монастырь основан в 1398 году. В 1654 году было сооружено 7 башен. Нижегородский Кремль – крепость в центре Нижнего Новгорода и его историческая древнейшая часть, главный общественно-политический и историко-художественный комплекс города. С приходом к власти большевиков в Нижегородском Кремле произошли значительные перемены. Дербентская крепость – часть грандиозной оборонительной системы, защищавшей народы Закавказья и Передней Азии от нашествия кочевников с севера.
For the most part, Spanish castles weren't built to be pretty, though there are a couple of exceptions. They are solid, serious, and scary. They were designed to withstand sieges from everyone from Moorish invaders to the king in the next province. Sometimes royalty lived in them for brief periods, but more often their residents were political prisoners of the reigning ruler. Alhambra, Red Castle. In Arabic, represent the influence of the Moors who inhabited it for several centuries. Alcazar of Segovia. This castle fits the fairy tale mold of European castles and is reported to be the inspiration for the Cinderella Castle at Walt Disney World. Royalty lived here, including Isabella I, who was crowned here in 1474. Olite Castle was built on 1st century Roman ruins, several centuries later. Various monarchs added to it over the years, using a variety of architectural styles, with towers, courtyards, and gardens. Penfield Castle sits on a hill in the town of Penafiel in Valladolid province. Constructed between the 9th and 15th centuries, today, one wing of Penafiel Castle House is a wine museum. Alcazaba of Almeria. The word Alcazaba derives from an Arabic word that means walled fortification. Houses and shops could be found inside the structure. Initially built by Muslims in the 10th century, it was added on to by the Catholics in later years. New Castle of Manzanares el Real. This 15th century fortress is one of the best preserved castles in the Madrid area. Built entirely of granite, the 6th-floor castle is a good example of Spanish military architecture. Belver Castle, Majorca, an island off the coast of Spain, is circular in shape. King James II of Majorca built the castle in the 14th century. It later was used as a military prison for political prisoners and today houses an historical museum. Castle of La Mota, reconstructed fortress with roots dating back to the 11th century. Coca Castle. It has only 3 sides since it is built into a hillside that provides a defense from invaders who attack from the rear. Built by Christians in the mid-15th century. Much of the castle's interior was destroyed in the last century. Lorca Castle. The castle sits on a site of a former Muslim citadel.
best Romanian castles you must visit. Romania is a land rich in history, culture, and architectural wonders. Among its most captivating attractions are its castles, each steeped in legend and offering a unique glimpse into the country's past. From medieval fortresses perched on rugged hilltops to elegant palaces nestled in verdant landscapes, Romania's castles are a must-see for any traveler. Pelișor Castle, built between 1899 and 1903 as a residence for King Ferdinand and Queen Marie of Romania. Though smaller than Peliș, Pelișor is equally charming. It's filled with Art Nouveau influences. Golden Room, which is adorned with intricate thistle motifs, a symbol of Scotland, her birthplace. Art Nouveau furnishings and decorations of Romania's last royal couple. Banfi Castle, the Versailles of Transylvania, built in the 17th century by the Banfi family. Cantacuzino Castle, built in the early 20th century by Prince Gheorghe Grigore Cantacuzino. Blend of Neo-Romanian and Art Nouveau styles, beautifully landscaped gardens. Sturdza Castle, Neo-Gothic architecture, built in the late 19th century by the Sturdza family. Făgăraș Fortress, built in the 14th century, the fortress played a key role in the defense of Transylvania and later served as a residence for Transylvanian princes. Rașnov Fortress, built by the Teutonic Knights, the fortress was designed to protect the local population from invading forces. It was built primarily for defense, with little emphasis on luxury or decoration. Poenari Fortress was built in the 13th century. Much of the fortress is now in ruins. You'll need to climb 1,480 steps. Corvin Castle was built in the 15th century by John Hunyadi, a leading figure in the struggle against the Ottoman Empire. Gothic architecture. The castle also features Renaissance and Baroque elements, renovations and additions made over the centuries. Peliș Castle, commissioned by King Carol I in the late 19th century, first castle in Europe to be fully powered by electricity. Bran Castle, often referred to as Dracula's Castle, Bram Stoker's fictional character, Count Dracula, built in the 14th century, a mix of Gothic and Renaissance architectural styles. Queen Marie used the castle as a royal residence, surrounding Carpathian Mountains.
Perched atop Castle Hill, Buda Castle is one of Budapest's most iconic landmarks and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Originally built in the 13th century, it has been destroyed and rebuilt several times, reflecting Hungary's turbulent history. Visegrad Castle stands high above the Danube River, offering breathtaking views of the Danube Bend. Built in the 13th century, Eger Castle is known for its heroic defense against the Ottoman Empire in 1552. Esztergom Castle is one of Hungary's most significant historical sites, dating back to the 10th century. It was the royal residence of Saint Stephen, Hungary's first king. Over time, the castle became an important political and religious center, housing Hungary's archbishops. Buldaco Castle, built in the 13th century following the Mongol invasion. Fuzér Castle, built in the early 13th century, among the first castles in Hungary to be privately owned, played a significant role during the Mongol invasion and later became a refuge for the Hungarian crown. Siglaget Castle dates back to the 13th century. It was originally built by the Zrínyi family, played a significant role in defending the region from Ottoman invasions. Regech Castle, Salgovara Castle, Halicko Castle.
This is 10 awesome castles and chateaux to see in the Czech Republic. Konopiste Chateau, established at the end of the 13th century by Prague Bishop Tobias. Lednice Chateau. Prague Castle. Kromrit Archbishop's Palace. Český Krumlov Castle. Lubocha Chateau. Bradnov nad D. Chateau. Dating back to 1100, many noble families have lived here, each making alterations. Little Mitchell Chateau, a Renaissance-style castle in Bohemia. Mikolov Chateau. Novy Rady. The Rococo-style castle was built in the 1770s.
From fairy tale-like palaces to imposing medieval strongholds, Poland is home to numerous castles and fortresses that reflect the country's rich history, spanning various periods and architectural styles. La Palace Castle, Bedzin Castle, Lesna Skala Castle, Miro Castle, Bobolice Castle, dating back to the 14th century, built as a defensive fortress to protect the trade routes in the region. Paiskowa Skala Castle dates back to the 14th century. Suiers Castle, New Castle, Royal Castle in Chesney, Castle of Frombork, Ogrodzeniec Castle dates back to the 14th century. Krzysztofor Castle, Niedzika Castle, situated on the shores of Lake Zorsten, built in the 14th century. Zoka Castle, Ksias Castle, dates back to the 13th century. The Royal Castle in Warsaw, originally constructed in the 14th century as a medieval fortress and was later transformed into a royal residence. Wawel Castle, in Krakow, dating back to the 14th century. The royal castle served as the residence of Polish kings. Mosna Castle date back to the 17th century, but it underwent significant expansions and renovations. The Wilanow Palace, Malbork Castle, was built by the Teutonic Knights, a medieval German Catholic military order, in the 13th century, served as the order's headquarters and as a strategic stronghold in the region. Gothic brick architecture, the largest brick castle in the world, played a significant role in the Baltic Crusades. Estonia. From the fairy tale-like Sungusti Castle to the majestic Kurusaru Castle, each fortress offers a unique glimpse into Estonia's past. Toompea Castle, in the capital city of Tallinn, since its founding by the Danes in 1219 under King Valdemar II. In the 14th century, the Teutonic Order rebuilt and fortified the castle. Toompea Castle has witnessed conflicts between the Danish, German, Swedish, and Russian rulers who sought control over the region. Kuressaare Castle, dating back to the 14th century. Built by the Teutonic Order, withstanding attacks from various powers, including the Danes, Swedes, and Russians. 1563, during the Livonian War, Swedes took control of the castle, marking the beginning of a long period of Swedish rule over Saaremaa. Glenn's Castle, constructed in 1886 by Baron Nikolai von Glenn, wealthy landowner, as his private residence. The Jepera Castle, neo-Gothic architecture. Built between 1907 and 1912, commissioned by the wealthy Baltic German von Stackelberg family. Today, transformed into a hotel and spa. Alotskivi Castle, built in the late 19th century by Baron Arvid von Nalken, inspired by Scotland's Balmoral Castle. Neo-Gothic style reflect the aristocratic lifestyle of the Baltic German nobility, frequently hosting grand balls and gatherings of Estonia's elite. Now serves as a museum showcasing the history of the manor and the life of its former residents. Sungusti Castle, in the small village of Sungusti in southern Estonia, built between 1874 and 1881. Paida Castle, founded by the Livonian Order in the 13th century. Viljandi Castle, once one of the largest and most powerful fortresses in medieval Livonia. Built in the 13th century by the Livonian Order. Haapsalu Castle, built in the 13th century by the bishopric of Osselwick. Rakvere Castle, dates back to the 13th century, originally built by the Danes before being taken over by the Teutonic Order in the 14th century. Lithuania, land of the last pagans of Europe. Thrake Island Castle, on Lake Galve, near the town of Thrake, dates back to the 14th century, served as a crucial stronghold for the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Built under the direction of Grand Duke Kęstutis and later expanded by his son Vytautas the Great. Kaunas Medieval Castle, dates back to the mid-14th century, played a crucial role in defending the Grand Duchy of Lithuania from incursions of the Teutonic Order. Gediminas Castle Tower, the last remaining part of the upper castle in Vilnius, dates back to the early 14th century when Grand Duke Gediminas, the founder of Vilnius, built the city's first defensive fortress. Rawdon Castle, located on the banks of the Narmunas River, stands on the site of an earlier medieval fortress, Pluungė Manor. 19th century estate belonged to the noble Oginski family. Panemunių Castle was constructed between 1604 and 1610 by the noble Hungarian-Lithuanian Eperjes family. Norawiliškės Castle, Renaissance style, built in the early 17th century by the Bernardine monks, was originally a monastery. Medininkai Castle was built in the early 14th century during the reign of Grand Duke Gediminas or his successor Algirdas. Biržai Castle, near the shores of Lake Cervena, 16th century castle, was constructed by the influential Rudvila family, one of the most powerful noble dynasties in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The Strampolis Palace, 19th century manor. Trakų Vokė Manor, located just 12 kilometers from Vilnius, 19th century estate was built for the influential Tiškevičių family.
Switzerland's long history of armed neutrality has produced some of the best preserved castles in Central Europe. You can also find some of the most spectacular castles and strongholds that proudly sit amidst the picturesque panorama. Well-preserved castles, many of which date back to medieval times. Château de Chillon, on a rocky offshore island in Lake Geneva. The 12th to the 16th century, the Counts of Savoy controlled traffic on the lake from the aquatic stronghold. Terrasp Castle, between the borders of Austria and Italy. Parts of the structure date back to the 11th century when the region was under Austrian rule. Today, the citadel is privately owned. Oberhofen Castle. Construction on this turreted palace began in the 1200s. Aigle Castle, near the southeast shore of Lake Geneva, was built by the Knights of Aigle at the end of the 12th century. Wine Museum. Tourbillon Castle. Ruins of Tourbillon Castle date back to the 13th century. Castelgrande. The city of Bellinzona, first fortified in the 4th century, features 2 restaurants and a courtyard. Rapperswil Castle, a Lake Zurich, 13th century castle, once played a vital role in controlling the passage of ships on the water. In 1870, it was leased by a Polish emigrant named Count Władysław Rollplater. The Count restored the castle and opened it as the Polish National Museum. Touring the museum offers a rare glimpse of interiors. Bufflin's Castle, 15th century castle, privately owned and not open to visitors. Castello di Montebello, Bellinzona, in the Swiss canton of Ticino, built in the 14th century, expanded in the 15th century and renovated to its current state in the early 1900s. Spies Castle, built in 933 when much of the western area of modern-day Switzerland was ruled by Italy.
From imposing fortresses to romantic ruins, Scotland is world-famous for its unique castles. They boasts over 2,000 castles, each with its own unique story to tell. Loughranza Castle in Loughranza, a village on the Isle of Arran, overlooks Loch Ranza. Most of the current structure was built in the 16th century, served as a strategic stronghold, guarding the sea route between Scotland and Ireland. Lewes Castle, built between 1847 and 1851 as a country house for Sir James Matheson, who had bought the whole island a few years previously with his fortune from the Chinese opium trade. Doune Castle, 14th century stronghold located near the village of Doune in central Scotland. Built in the late 14th century by Robert Stewart, Duke of Albany. Dun Alastair Castle, ruined mansion dating to the mid-19th century for General MacDonald of St. Martin's. Kilchin Castle, at the northeastern end of Loch Awe, was first constructed in the mid-15th century as the base of the Campbells of Glenorchy, who extended both the castle and their territory in the area over the next 150 years. After the Campbells became Earls of Breadalbane and moved to Taymouth Castle, Kilchin fell out of use and was in ruins by 1770. Aboyne Castle, before 1233, in 1307, King Edward I of England ordered its fortification. Balvenie Castle, built in the 12th century by a branch of the powerful Comyn family. Inverness Castle, overlooking the River Ness, dates back to 1836. Drum Castle, parts of the castle dating back to the 13th century. Originally constructed as a fortified tower house of the Irvine family for over 650 years. Fyvie Castle, in the village of Fyvie. The earliest parts of Fyvie Castle date back to the 13th century. Castle Stalker, Slains Castle, Lennox Castle, constructed between 1837 and 1841, the castle itself served as a nurse's home, while the grounds housed about 1,200 patients. The hospital closed in 2002. Tantallon Castle, Blackness Castle, 15th century fortress, near the village of Blackness, on the south shore of the Firth of Forth, in the 1440s. It was originally built as a residence for the Crichton family. Blair Castle, historically the seat of the Duke of Atholl, though the current Duke resides in South Africa. The Dukes of Atholl hold the unique distinction of having their own private army, the Atholl Highlanders. This historic regiment was formed in the 18th century and is still active today. Construction is believed to have begun in 1269. Glamis Castle. The thainage of Glamis was granted to Sir John Lyon by King Robert II in 1372. Kelburn Castle. Urquhart Castle. Dunatar Castle, largely of the 15th and 16th centuries, now open to the public. Dunvegan Castle. The castle is partially inhabited by the current clan chief, Hugh Magnus MacLeod, who is based in London. Stirling Castle dates back at least as early as the 12th century, served as a royal residence for many Scottish monarchs. Palace Royal was built by James V in the 16th century, and it is a stunning example of Renaissance architecture. Balmoral Castle, residence of the British royal family. The estate was purchased for Queen Victoria by Prince Albert in 1852. You can enjoy the grounds, which are open to the public from April to the end of July. There's also a gift shop and cafe on site. Aliandonan Castle. The first castle on the site was built in the 13th century by King Alexander II to defend the area from Viking raiders. The castle we see today is a reconstruction project undertaken by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae Gilstrap in the early 20th century. The McCrae family remains the owner of the castle. Edinburgh Castle. There has been a royal castle on the rock since at least the reign of Malcolm III in the 11th century.
Sa arhitekturom i načinom života u Srbiji u srednjem veku. Posjetit ćemo manastir Manasiju i grad Smederevo, poslednju prestonicu srpske srednjevekovne države. Srednjevekovna Srbija, smeštena između istoka i zapada, imala je veliku političku, ekonomsku i kulturnu reputaciju u Evropi, a tragovi ove značajne istorije vidljivi su i danas. U Beogradu, Golupcu, Kraljevu, Pirotu, Smederevu. Manastir Manasija, nedaleko od Despotovca, jedan je od najznačajnijih spomenika srpske srednjevekovne kulture. Gradio ga je despot Stefan Lazarević u periodu od 1407. do 1418. godine. Srpski vladar u njemu je i živeo, a ovde je i sahranjen 1427. godine.
Manastir Manasija je izgrađen u moravskom stilu. Autentičan srpski, arhitektonski stil. Pre toga je postojao i raški stil i srpsko-vizantijski stil. Ovo je međutim autentičan srpski stil i njega odlikuju tradicije koje su preuzete iz zapadne Evrope, pre svega mediteranskog sveta, iz Vizantije.
I pismenosti našeg naroda. A imamo i recimo nekih najnovijih podataka da je nekoliko knjiga pronađeno u svetu koje je lično despot Stefan prepisivao. Zamislite koje je to blago za naš narod kad smo imali takvog vladara. Vidimo jednog čovjeka svestrano koji se bavio svetskom kulturom, svetskom pismenošću i da se trudio da naš narod opismeni i da kažem da nas prosvetli na jedan takav način.
Hrana u srednjem veku bila je skromna, a najčešće su se koristili meso, žitarice i povrće. Smederevska tvrđava je najveće ravničarsko utvrđenje u Evropi. Podigao ju je despot Đurać Branković, sestrić despota Stefana Lazarevića. Sagrađena je u periodu od 1428. do 1439. godine na ušću reke Jezave u Dunav na površini od 11 hektara.
Možemo da vidimo 4 impresivna prozora, to jest bifore, 3 u gotičkom, 1 u romaničkom stilu. To su bili prozori iz velike sale za prijeme gde je verovatno despot u to vreme primao onako najuticajnije ljude Evrope.
Prozori dvora despota Đurđa Brankovića su bili zastakljeni staklom sa čuvenog ostrva Murano, za koje je despot Đurać Branković dao 11.000 zlatnih dukata, što je analogno 11 miliona evra danas, za recimo.
Grožđe je simbol Smedereva i ovog dela Srbije. Smederevsko vinogorje ima tradiciju dugu 1700 godina. Ovde skoro svaka kuća ima vinograd, a osim stranih gaje se i autohtone srpske sorte. Tamjanika, Prokupac i Smederevka.
Dani su topli i ta temperaturna razlika između dana i noći daje tu svežinu u vinu.
Originally made of earth and wood, later castles were built of stone, so many still survive today. spanning a period of 900 years during the Middle Ages. Castles come in many styles of architecture and design. Despite their differences though, they all have one feature in common: they are fortified. Castles finally fell out of favor with the advent of gunpowder, as offensive technologies, such as cannons, rendered castles largely obsolete.
Finland. The land of the thousand lakes. This nation has some of Northern Europe's fascinating medieval castles. Olavinlinna Castle, founded in 1475 by Danish knight Erik Axelsson to protect Sweden's eastern frontier from Russian invasions. In 1743, it was ceded to Russia after the Treaty of Abio, marking a shift in regional power. Today, it is best known for hosting the world-famous Savonlinna Opera Festival. Hamme Castle, dating back to the late 13th century, originally built by the Swedish crown to solidify its control over the region and protect against possible Russian incursions. Its distinctive red brickwork. Turku Castle, located at the mouth of the Ora River, founded in the late 13th century by the Swedish crown to strengthen its control over Finland. Kastelholm Castle, the only medieval fortress in the Åland Islands and once hosted Swedish royalty, built in the late 14th century as a strategic stronghold for Sweden, controlling trade and maritime routes in the Baltic Sea. Kajarni Castle, built between 1604 and 1619 under the orders of Swedish King Charles IX. Suomenlinna Fortress, on a cluster of islands off the coast of Helsinki, built in 1748 by the Swedish crown as a defense against Russian expansion. Raisborg Castle, center of trade and governance in medieval Finland. Stone fortress was built around 1370 by the Swedish royal governor Bo Johnson Grip to protect Swedish interests and oversee trade in southern Finland. Belgium, the battlefield of Europe. Due to its strategic location, countless armies have fought on its soil for centuries, giving rise to some of the most breathtaking castles in Europe. From towering citadels that once defended entire regions to fairy tale chateaux nestled in lush valleys, Belgium's castles are a testament to its rich history. Oldenbezen Castle, once one of the most important commanderies of the Teutonic Order in Europe, originally built in the 13th century by the Teutonic Knights. Oudonk Castle, in East Flanders, Flemish Renaissance architecture, built as a medieval fortress in the 13th century, was repeatedly attacked and destroyed during conflicts between the Spanish and local forces in the late 16th century. Rebuilt in the 16th century with a blend of Spanish and Flemish influences. Gaspeek Castle, near Brussels. Built in 1236 by the Duke of Brabant as a defense against the expanding county of Flanders. Over time, the castle transformed into an aristocratic residence. Gravenstein Castle. Located in the heart of Ghent, built in 1180 by Count Philip of Alsace as a stronghold to protect his territory from external threats. Castle of Larne. Just 11 kilometers east of Ghent, dates back to the 11th century and was later rebuilt in the 14th century. Chateau de Walsen, built as a medieval fortress in the 11th century, destroyed conflicts between France and the Low Countries. It was transformed to a breathtaking neo-Gothic residence in the 19th century under the ownership of the de Montpellier family. Privately owned and not open for interior visits. Chateau de Veviche. Originally built in the 12th century by the Lords of Beaufort, destroyed and rebuilt in the 15th century. Castle of Derby. Since the 11th century. 18th century renovation that gave it its current elegant appearance. La Roche-en-Ardennes Castle was built on the ruins of a Celtic oppidum. The Romans later established a fortified camp there. The first castle was built in the 9th century and expanded over time. Het Steen in Antwerp dates back to the early 13th century, built by the Duke of Brabant as part of the city's defensive walls. Chateau de Freyre, on the banks of the Meuse River, originally built as a medieval fortress in the 14th century, was the site of the Treaty of Freyre in 1675, peace between France and the Spanish Netherlands. Citadel of Namur. Originally a Roman fort, was expanded in the Middle Ages by the Counts of Namur, transformed into a formidable bastion under French rule in the 17th century. Castle of Reinhardstein. Denmark, land of the Danes. From Viking fortifications to grand Renaissance palaces, many were built as symbols of power, serving as the residences of Denmark's kings and queens, while others played crucial roles in military defense. Frederiksborg Castle, Renaissance architecture, built in the early 17th century by King Christian IV. Rosenborg Castle, the early 17th century as a pleasure palace by King Christian IV, Copenhagen in Christiansborg Palace houses all three branches of a nation's government, executive, legislative, and judicial, a former royal residence. In central Copenhagen, the current palace, completed in 1928, Ichskov Castle. Kronborg Castle, Elsinore in Shakespeare's Hamlet, located in Helsingør, dates back to the 16th century. Amalienborg Palace in Copenhagen, official residence of the Danish royal family, built in the 1750s. Frederiksborg Palace. Hammershus Castle. Tranekær Castle. The Hermitage Hunting Lodge. Have you ever wondered about the stories behind Italy's towering castles and majestic turrets? From the rugged mountains of the north to the sun-drenched shores of the south, hundreds of ancient fortresses stand. Castel Nuovo, built in 1279 by Charles I of Anjou, at the heart of Naples. Castello Aragonese, on the island of Ischia near Naples, built in 474 BC when the ancient Greeks used it to fend off attacks. Castello Sforzesco, in the heart of Milan, built in the 14th century by Galeazzo II Visconti. Castel Sant'Angelo was originally built as a mausoleum for Emperor Hadrian in 135 AD. It was connected to Vatican City via the Passetto di Borgo, a secret passage used by popes to escape danger. Castello Orsini Odescalchi, just outside of Rome, built in the 15th century by the Orsini family, Renaissance castle offers panoramic views of Lake Bracciano. In the late 1600s, the Orsini family sold the castle to another powerful Italian family, the Odescalchi, who still own it today. Castello Svevo di Bari, Castello Scaligero di Sirmione, built in the 13th century by the powerful Scaliger family, fortified harbor. Castello di Garadara, Dante's tragic love story of Paolo and Francesca, 12th century castle seen numerous power struggles between the Malatesta and Sforza families. Connection to Dante's Inferno, where the doomed lovers Paolo and Francesca are condemned for their forbidden love. Castello Svevo di Catania, was built by Emperor Frederick II in 1239 near Mount Etna, in Sicily.